Pumpkin fritters, one of my favourite childhood memories growing up in South Africa. My mum would take big farmer's pumpkins, known as boerpampoene in Afrikaans, chop them up, cook them in boiling water, and then mix them with different ingredients and pan fry them to make delicious cinnamon flavoured pumpkin fritters. So all you're going to need for it is 2 cups of cooked pumpkin. Now the best tip I can give you there is to steam it so it stays nice and dry. The less soggy your pumpkin is, the better. And to bind it together to make a batter, we've got some flour, a little bit of baking powder to make it puff up, an egg, and then the real flavour comes from granulated sugar that we mix with a bit of ground cinnamon. And we're going to serve it with lemon wedges that people can just squeeze over themselves. So my pumpkin has already been cooked and I've let it cool down, so you'll get a much better result if you let it cool down first. So let's just crack an egg and mix that into it. Good. So just break up your egg a little bit into the pumpkin batter. There we go. We've got plain flour going in, a little bit of baking powder. Now you can make this gluten-free if you use a gluten-free flour and gluten-free baking powder. Very importantly, don't forget that. Masher. And at this stage, it's just a little bit of elbow grease to get it to mash together. So this is looking good. So you don't want a mixture that's too sloppy, because if it's too wet and too sloppy, you're going to have to add some more flour to it. And if you add things like flour and breadcrumbs to a batter recipe, it makes it really dense. It's just not nice anymore. You're not going to get the real pumpkin-y flavour coming out. I can just feel a couple of lumps in there, so give it another mash. You can even do this in a food processor, you know, if you want to really do it quickly. I think this, though, is a lovely thing to do for kids. And this goes really well with any roast dinner, especially. So I would have grown up having this with roast leg of lamb on a Sunday. And the pumpkin fritters are equally delicious cold the next day. I'm going to use a big hot plate to cook my pumpkin fritters on. You can just use a non-stick frying pan. Simple as. You want to heat it up and then brush it with a little bit of sunflower oil. The sunflower oil will reach a high temperature and it's not going to burn. So a little bit of sunflower oil on. This is a silicone brush, so it's not going to melt on my pan. And the bit of sunflower oil just makes the hot plate non-stick. And it gives the fritters something to cook in. I wouldn't recommend an olive oil, because olive oil can't reach such a high temperature, and it's going to burn. Hear that nice sizzle? It means our fritter is going to go lovely and brown on that side. This recipe doubles up extremely well, so don't be afraid to make a big batch of it. And these will be polished off in a matter of minutes. So as soon as the fritters are brown on one side, you can flip them over. Let me turn down my pan a little bit. There we go. So either use a silicone implement, or I've got nice metal ones. So you're not going to have a melted utensil. So you can see it's a light golden colour there, but it's still going to be quite runny in the middle. Pumpkin has a very high water content, so it's a really soft vegetable. You can see quite squishy there, so just be gentle. So if you're concerned about them burning before they've cooked through, you can just turn down the temperature on your pan, or you can even finish them off in the oven. But I suppose a good tip would be not to make them too big to begin with. So literally just a dessert spoon plopped onto your frying pan. To test if they cooked through, if you give them a little tap with your spatula, you can actually see the batter oozing out. So there's a little bit raw in the middle. But they should become firmer. As they cook through, they become firmer and firmer and firmer. So while these are cooking through the middle, I'm going to carry on mixing my cinnamon sugar. Very simple. You can either take white granulated sugar or brown granulated sugar, but not caster sugar. You want something with a bit of texture so that you get a crunch on top of the pumpkin fritter. And quite simply, it's ground cinnamon mixed in with the granulated sugar. You want quite a bit of cinnamon in there because cinnamon and pumpkin go really, really well together. I have a big pre-mixed jar of this at home that I use on pancakes, because that would be a very South African thing to make quite thick pancakes and serve it with cinnamon, sugar and the lemon. So you can see there that there's not as much give in my pumpkin fritters anymore. There's one little guy here that's still a little bit raw. So we'll transfer these ones onto our platter. They're done. Absolutely gorgeous. It's the lovely bright orange. So this is a lovely alternative to something like a carrot on a plate if you're looking for a bright orange vegetable for a meal or dinner. As I said, I grew up with these. Sunday roast dinner with green beans, roast potatoes, pumpkin fritters, and of course the wonderful lamb. So just going to give these ones a couple more minutes. And in the meantime, sprinkle over the cinnamon sugar. Be quite generous with this, because when the pumpkin fritters are still a little bit warm, the cinnamon sugar will really flavour it up beautifully. And the lemon brings out the flavour of the pumpkin and the cinnamon sugar really, really well. So everyone can help themselves to a lemon wedge. Orange is also fabulous. Orange, pumpkin, cinnamon, another lovely, lovely combination. So I even see this beyond Halloween. You could do something like this for Christmas, even your Christmas entertaining. So last two little guys. Beautiful. So lovely and golden brown. And it's going to be cooked through. So I think that is a very good use for your Halloween pumpkin this year, rather than throwing it out or turning it into soup. We can do more exciting. So here we go, the South African take on the pumpkin fritter served with cinnamon sugar and lemon wedges.